Do you think Kanu is Kanu legally entitled to request a transfer closer to Abuja for the purpose of preparing his appeal?
You can approach the court for any. You see, once you are aggrieved, okay, and you want the court to do something for you, you file a motion, you file an application before the court, and come to court. But you have to, the motion cannot be moved by a non-lawyer. That's the truth. The motion cannot be moved by a non-lawyer. You must have a lawyer to move the motion. Like James Omotosho told the brother, he said, you cannot move the motion because you're not a lawyer. And even if we say we want to, it will take you the next 6 years, so you won't become a lawyer, and whatever anything you want to do. So I think Nnamdi Kanu, his family members and loved ones should desist from this idea of we are going to do the case ourselves.
Well, we all remember this particular lawyer that gave a very, very expressive analysis on the case of the conviction of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Listening very attentively to what he has to say about Kanu's request to be transferred from Sokoto to Abuja for conveniences of his appeal. So I want us to listen attentively to what this lawyer have to say and some other advices he gave to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and his family as he heads to appeal court.
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, leader of indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to order his transfer from the Sokoto Correctional Facility, where he was moved after receiving a life sentence on terrorism charges. He argued that being held over 700 kilometers from Abuja makes it difficult to prepare his appeal, since he needs a personal access to the court registry and because his relatives and legal advisors are all based in Abuja.
Very true. Kanu requested to be moved to a custodial center within Abuja's jurisdiction, or alternatively to the Suleja or Kefi facilities to enable him to effectively pursue his appeal. But when the case was called, Justice James Omotosho refused to hear the motion because Kanu's brother Emmanuel, who brought it forward, is not a lawyer and therefore cannot represent him in court.
While that is said, the judge advised Kanu to engage a legal practitioner or seek help from the Legal Aid Council. He also cautioned against misleading the statements about the appeal process, explaining that a convict does not need to be physically present to compile court records. The matter was adjourned to December the 8th, 2025. So let's get talking. We still have Barrister Evans Ofeli, who joins us from Toronto in Canada. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for hanging on.
Very well.
Yes. So, Barrister, this is more like a transition from the last time we talked about this. Of course, when it went viral, a lot of people had their say, a lot of comments, about over 600 comments on what you had to say. So let's maybe start from there, then we now crisscross to now. Now, given all the comments that you saw, what's your take on all of them, especially coming from colleagues like you and people, of course, who might not understand better? So speak to us while we transition into the latest gist for today.
Well, I saw a lot of comments. Some persons who were abusing, some persons who understood what the analysis was, what I was saying. So many persons, even some of my classmates at the university were at the comment section, okay, to let them know we've known this person for a very long time, the rest of that. And it was quality analysis, one that came, quality analysis, one that came from a place of law. I didn't see anybody who used law to contradict what I said. People were just talking based on sentiment. And largely so, many of them are not lawyers, okay? So they will not be able to see from the prison from which I see what I was saying and the rest of that. So a lot of comments came from different places. So many people eulogizing, some talking left, right, and center and the rest of that. But the truth is that it's about the principle of law. It's not about anybody's opinion. Law is not about opinion. It's about procedures. It's about what is laid down and principles and precedents over time. Okay, that is what we follow. Okay, right. So the Nnamdi Kanu's case has since moved from that point to where it is today, because now he has been convicted, as it were, sentenced, okay, to life imprisonment, and then he's at the prison, been transferred to Sokoto as we speak.
All right. Of course, just before we get to that matter, on the comment section, still on what you had analyzed, some people said that they wish you would join the team of Nnamdi Kanu to help him, get out of that trouble he has found himself. And he equally called the lawyers he had as social media lawyers. And we're speaking about Ejimofo and the other man there. Do you think this caliber of individuals are truly social media lawyers, or is it that they? What do you think is the take on what people had to say about that?
There's nothing like social media lawyer. You're either a lawyer or not. I mean, when you say social media, what do they mean by that? You're either a lawyer or not. And if you have been briefed to take on a case, your responsibility is to go research and present your case. Okay? Those who call, a lot of people call lawyers, social media lawyers, some say charge and bail lawyer. They keep doing all that because the Nigerian state, the people themselves have some kind of problems. Okay? Sometimes they just feel that the lawyers are not doing well. That's why the case went the way it went. And I read comments. Even lawyers used to do that. You understand? The lawyers, Aloy Jumafa and Maxwell, okay, they may not be SAN, okay, they may not be, but to say that they do not know the law is false. They know exactly what they're doing and they did their best. You understand? The lawyer that represented before, they did their part. And it's wrong actually to come out and say that they are social media lawyers or they are using it to boost their social media page or the rest of that. That's very, very unfair to persons who had worked day and night, put this case together, got it to the point where they got it to the rest of that, advised adequately and all that. At the point when Nnamdi Kanu is defending himself, I mean, you couldn't have said that they are social media lawyer. I don't buy that kind of expression. They are lawyers, they are called to the bar, they are competent. They did their best, and if the client feels that what they are doing is not enough and took over the case, then so be it.
Okay.
It does not in any way diminish them. I mean, these are very passionate lawyers who have to even join a protest in a case that they are involved in. I mean, and you call them that. I don't think Nigerians are fair to lawyers. I don't think so.
Okay, but then again, right? Do you think Kanu is Kanu legally entitled to request a transfer closer to Abuja for the purpose of preparing his appeal?
You can approach the court for any. You see, once you are aggrieved, okay, and you want the court to do something for you, you file a motion, you file an application before the court, and come to court. But you have to, the motion cannot be moved by a non-lawyer. That's the truth. The motion cannot be moved by a non-lawyer. You must have a lawyer to move the motion. Like James Omotosho told the brother. He said, you cannot move the motion because you're not a lawyer. And even if we say we want to, it will take you the next 6 years, so you won't become a lawyer. And whatever anything you want to do. So I think Nnamdi Kanu, his family members and loved ones should desist from this idea of we are going to do the case ourselves. We're going to do the case ourselves. I'm very, very intelligent. Therefore, I can defend myself. Stop that. Law is not about intelligence. It's about procedures that you can never know if you're not a lawyer. Stop it. Let a lawyer make that application before the court. It's a lawyer that is trained for that purpose. And let him undertake it. The result will actually come out different if a lawyer is doing the case. That's his job. This thing about I can argue. Because see, the law will tell you that you can defend yourself, but what the law will not tell you is that you'll get stuck when you are doing that. And the result will be very, very devastating. So let the lawyer move that motion. You see, had it been, there was a lawyer that presented that motion before the court, that motion would have been moved on that day. And the court would have adjourned for room. And see what they can do to help him move closer to the appeal that he wants to do. 700 kilometers away. It's quite, everybody know that. And the court also went as far as saying that the Nnamdi Kanu itself is not required in court to compile appeal. It's not. You understand? What I see there is that the family don't like the idea of keeping him in Sokoto because Sokoto is too far for visitation, to take food to him, medications and all that. It's too far. They will incur a lot of expenses doing that, and coupled with the insecurity challenge in Nigeria. Those are the issues that are tenable. Those are the tenable issues there. Because his presence is not actually needed in court to prepare for his appeal, to compile records or to do whatever it is. Okay, so that application is strenuous. I urge the court to hear it in its favor, even though we cannot preempt the court. But I urge the court to do something about that because of the distance, if not for anything, for the distance, and in the interest of justice, to bring him closer home to where his loved ones can reach out to him, take food to him, take medication to him, console him, okay, and put him in the right frame of mind for the appeal that is coming forward. That's what I think. But the family has to go about it the right way. They should go about it the right way. Allow the lawyers to work on this case. Don't call them consultants. Let them work on the case and get this issue done once and for all.
All right. So, in the interest of justice and with your experience, do you think you see any light at the end of the tunnel? I do not know what is in the minds of George Omotosho at this point, but it is looking to me like all he is asking for, possibly, is for Nnamdi Kanu to have some form of remorse. And maybe he might start acting on it. But what's your take with your experience, especially knowing that you said the law is not intelligence, but following the procedure?
Yes, now when you are going on appeal, you will bring your motion to the same court that delivered the judgment. Okay, so with those appeals, with those issues filed, they added this particular one. They added this particular one so for him to be taken to a better place. Okay, the time for remorse and all that Nnamdi Kanu ought to have shown in court for whatever accusation they accuse him of. And that one has passed.
It has expired?
It has passed. It has passed. It's been convicted already. Okay? That one, you see, when there's during criminal trial, the judge is not just looking at the case, he's also looking at the countenance of the defendant. The countenance of the defendant cannot exonerate him, but the countenance of the defendant, if he's remorseful, can mitigate the penalty, can mitigate the sentence, can reduce the harshness of whatever it is that would have made. So it's at that point of trial that this issue of being remorseful, and the rest of that would have played a role. When judgment has been delivered, it's been delivered, okay, and that is it. So whether there will be light at the end of the tunnel, I believe that the motion will be heard and be heard positive. And I believe that he will be taken to somewhere closer to his point of appeal. And that is what it should be. There's no point persecuting him after conviction. There's no point. There's no point. It's pointless to persecute a man after you have convicted him.
So sorry for interjecting. When you say persecution, is sending to Sokoto what you are talking about? Could that be regarded as a persecution?
Yeah, because if you look at the condition, Sokoto, the relatives have to assess him in prison. Okay? You cannot eat the food in Nigerian prison. Don't just go there. You can't. The only people who eat it are people who have no one to bring food for them and all that. So the family will need to be close to so that they can take things to him, medications and all that. And when you say so they have to take flights anytime they want to see him, and it's not convenient. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And a convict still have a right under the law to ask that the facility where he's kept is not close to his relatives, it's not close to his people, it's not convenient to even go on his continue his appeal and the rest of that. You have a right to do so. You have a right. Whether the right to be respected or not is a different thing entirely. Because you cannot force it. You can only make an application and give reasons why you are doing that. And if the reasons are compelling enough and they are logical, the court believes in it, the court will act on it. That is it. So what I'm saying in effect is, where he is now, it's really difficult for him to access certain facility and help to project, even with his case and his well-being. So that application it's like, sets forth to address that issue. That his location be changed. Because the judge already said he should not be taken to Kuje prison. So we have Suleja prison and we have another one. I think Suleja, is it Kefi also?
Yeah, Kefi.
Yes. So in the application, they have suggested that Suleja or Kefi. Because the judge specifically says he should not go to Kuje. So Suleja, Kefi, those are close places, where you can have this. So that because it's people in Abuja, both lawyers, families, and all that, then they can assess it easily.
But I'm curious, really. I'm actually curious. Do you think all of this would have mattered if Nnamdi Kanu was prosecuted maybe in Kenya or any other country outside of Nigeria? Would the family be saying all of this? Would they be bringing this to the table if he was prosecuted like Henry Oka in South Africa, where he's serving his term now?
He was not prosecuted in South Africa, in Kenya. Since he's prosecuted here, and ever since he has been in detention, the lawyers have visited, families have visited, and the rest of that. They still want to continue to do that. If they had prosecuted him in Kenya, all this would not have been brought to the table. I understand. I know what you are saying. You understand? I know what you are saying. If there were no appeal, also, I do not think the lawyers would be making such demands, would be making such all that. Okay, but there's an appeal. They need to reach him, family members to reach him, and the rest of that. So it's important to make that demand. Whether the court, will grant it or not, it's a different thing entirely.
All right.
Okay.
You just have to try.
Okay, thank you. So does Kanu's transfer to Sokoto appear administrative or just politically motivated? Do you think it's politically motivated?
Well, I don't know what inspired the transfer.
Okay.
But the court can do something about it. Because once the court has delivered judgment and hand over to the prison warders, they take it up from there.
Okay.
You understand? But the court can make an order. The court can make an order to the correctional center to do X, Y, Z. You understand?
Yeah.
Even the correctional center themselves can take decisions administratively. You understand?
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, you see that the correctional facility, they are the defendant now in the application. So, and this is the argument. The correctional facility, we don't know whether they are filing any counter affidavit to say that no, don't take him anywhere. This is what we want him. Sometimes they may file, sometimes they will not even file anything. They will just ask the court to take a decision on the matter. I mean, the correctional center file counter affidavit. What reason do they have really to file counter affidavit? If they want to, they can, but it is not necessary. He has been convicted. Just give him some channel to enhance his well-being. That's what they're asking for.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
They should do the right thing.
All right.
The right thing.
So just before we end for today, for the want of time, I would love us to finally look at this particular issue, because everything is rested on the table of the president, either granting him clemency or not. But of course, we've seen Alex Oti do a visit to Nnamdi Kanu. He's been criticized, however, for doing that, because lots of people have said, why should an elected governor visit someone that has been, incarcerated on the term of terrorism? And also, Masob had decried Igbo politicians' silence on Kanu's ordeal. So do you think that the Igbo community, the Igbo demographics, especially the politicians and some elites, I'm talking about money bags, do you think they are indifferent about the incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu? Do you think they feel this is good for the economy of the southeast of Nigeria, knowing that what he has said had contributed to the failure of businesses in the southeast of Nigeria, had led to people dying unnecessarily, and so on? What's your take on the Igbo man's indifference to a large extent to Nnamdi Kanu's incarceration?
The Igbos are divided on this issue. There are many of them who agree, who lost loved ones based on Nnamdi Kanu's activities. And so those ones are largely indifferent about his incarceration, whether they take him to Sokoto, take him to Abuja. They are not interested. They are not interested because, according to them, his activity led to so many crises. The businessmen who had lost one or two things, who trace it to his activities, also those ones are very different. But there are some who are of the view that Nnamdi Kanu has not committed any offense that warrants such conviction. And there are many of them. And they should not, no one should, put him under the said condition he is. Okay? So many of them weren't happy on the day of that conviction. Some journalists went out to take a voice off and the rest of that, and people were silent, people were sad. A lot of people. But there's also a group that came out to talk about justice for those who lost their life as a result of the activities of the IPOB. Okay? And that is not all of them that ascribe to the Nnamdi Kanu's post, and they should be allowed to be their own person and the rest of that. So we've seen that there are people on both sides. When people call for justice for Nnamdi Kanu, some persons also are calling for justice for those who may have been affected as a result of the activities of IPOB and the sit-at-home order. The resultant effect, the economic effect, the social and political effect of sin. So you always find people in two divides or three divides on issues like this, and it's not then to be vilified. Each divide or all divides should not be vilified. People are talking from their own experiences, and that should be respected. We can respect that. We can live with that. But ultimately, there should be a common ground. There should be a common ground where the issues are looked at objectively. And looking at it objectively will mean to see that no matter what it is, everyone must at some point come to that alignment where they have to stand for what is just and right for the Igbos.
All right. Thank you so very much, Barrister. This is looking more like the Ken Saro-Wiwa ordeal when he was killed. The families of the chiefs that were killed as a result of what they felt Ken Saro-Wiwa, made known, were equally very angry. When Ken Saro-Wiwa was granted the opportunity by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he was on all that. The people who lost their fathers, the chiefs, were equally not happy. But I think that they are finding a common ground now. Both the Ken Saro-Wiwas and the chiefs, sons and daughters are coming together now to make peace for themselves. So I'd love to believe that might equally happen in the Southeast. People have lost loved ones. People have lost businesses. There's a viral video actually of young children in primary school that went to school on a sit-at-home. And those IPOB boys came to the school and started flogging them. In fact, with the principal, the teacher, they all lay down on the ground and they were flogging them like it was brutish, society. It wasn't looking very, very good. And those children, the trauma, they will not forget it for a very long time.
They will
and
never.
Some of them will trace it to Nnamdi Kanu.
Exactly. So it will be like a stigma.
People who have missed exams, WAEC, that was supposed to hold on the sit-at-home day. Lots of them lost that opportunity, English, maths, and so many others. So
there's different issues there. Anyway.
All right, but that's just about the time we have. But thank you so very much, Barrister, for joining us and clarifying what we have.
From the men at the top who are Igbos to come speak about Nnamdi Kanu's issue or involve themselves.
Maybe they're not loud enough.
I laugh. The Igbo people we are one of the smartest people. We are not just book smart, we are street smart, and we are business smart. Okay? You're telling someone to come and support a movement or talk about a movement that he initially is not wanting to be part of. The Biafran movement is not something that all Igbos are in support of. So stop trying, I need people to stop trying to mash us into one. There is a divide already on this movement. Before IPOB, there was MASOB. How did MASOB run their agenda so peacefully? But when it was time for the IPOB, we are having chaos. The East is not what it used to be. We can't travel anymore. The UGMs are in play. The ESN are in play. My state is in shambles because I am from the same state as he is. You can't come out on Mondays anymore. You move, you get killed. Why is nobody saying anything about that? We are more worried about one man who put the whole of the East in disarray for doing the wrong thing. There's tyranny, there's treason. Are we going to advocate for a tyrant? You want a cessation, you do not go about it the legal way, and you put everybody's lives from the East into problems, and then you want us to stand behind violence? Has any of you taken the time to listen to Nnamdi's radio channel for 1 hour and hear the amount of hate?
This live video I'm making this morning is to let you guys know that, look, Yes, the court of first instance have given his judgment. That doesn't mean that his right to appeal has been closed or foreclosed. No, he has a right to appeal his judgment. He has a right to appeal that judgment. Then even when the appeal comes out, the judgment in the court of appeal comes out, he also has a right to the Supreme Court. It is not yet the end. So why the cry? Why all the emotional things? Why the insult on people? Must everybody support IPOB? I'm an Igbo woman, but I'm not IPOB. I'm not in support of them. Now we say justice is everybody's business. What about those who died? What about those who were killed by these IPOB people under his command? What about them? Dora Kunyeli's husband is an example. What about the unknown gunmen? Yes, I agree. He has every right to seek what he wanted. Everybody has a right to agitate for change. Everybody has a right to agitate for change. So at a point, I liked this young man. I loved Nnamdi Kanu. At a point. Because I could see a young man vibrating, wanting for change, calling for change, just like our late Ojukwu. Everybody loved the movement. Everybody loved the idea. Everybody loved the way it was going. But immediately bloodshed entered. I cut myself off. Immediately they started, the command and everything started. Bloodshed. It became another thing. I said, no, I'm not part of this. Because my duty first, my love first is to humanity. Nobody's life should be cut short because I'm agitating for something I don't even know if I will get. Ordinary utterance scattered the whole country. Then you are saying that is injustice. What about those that died? What about those that died, that lost their life? That your family member did not die does not mean that the person who incited it does not deserve some punishment, level of punishment. What are you saying? Everybody's just being emotional. What about those that died, those that were their life were cut short, those that were kidnapped? There's a lawyer, there's a Rotarian in Port Harcourt. Up to today, they must in his body. Teddy or something they call him. Speedy or Teddy, something like that. Igbos are the ones suffering this thing. Igbos are suffering it. Igbos in Ugwa Hausa are suffering Ugwa Hausa this thing. Any small thing, the Hausas will start burning their properties. Those in the north. Igbos in the north are suffering. Any small incitement, anything with us incite violence, they will burn Igbos property. Burn Igbos this thing, pursue Igbos, kill Igbos. Igbos will run down to Igbo states. When they run down to Igbo states, their own home, IPOB and Sepamba. So Igbos, I began to cry for the Igbo. Where would they stay? Where would they call home? Even look at it. He had his lawyers along the line. His choice of lawyers were even very okay. Kanu Agabi SAN. I love that man to stupor. Good, brilliant, one of the best lawyers in Nigeria. He had them along the line. He debriefed them that he wanted to do his case himself. They gave him time to do his case himself. He started dribbling everybody. Okay, look at his attitude in court. How do you even start to beg for such a person? I was just asking. How do you even, if you even want to beg for such a person, how? Get a hold on your emotions. Because the international community is watching. Now they want to, if they even want to beg for you, how did they start? When it comes to representing yourself, you will lose it. I am a lawyer, a proud lawyer. But there are some cases that are personal. I will have to brief my colleague to come and represent me. Because if I represent myself, I will lose, I will make mistake. Dr. Ada Agwonwoya, even if you are a born lawyer, Dr. Ada Agwonwoya, when she come to shove, you call a lawyer, you brief a lawyer to please come and, you know the law. But when it comes to that, representing yourself, you must miss it. You be emotional. You had a very beautiful legal team. Kanu Agabi SAN. I know they joke with that man. You debriefed him. That guy, shit. How do you start to beg? How do you even start to defend such a person? Erratic, anger, everything, everybody watched it. Yet people are saying it's injustice. How? You incite people into war, you incite people into fighting themselves and say it's not your fault because you are not the one in the forefront that did it. As long as you are an influence that incited these people, my dear, you are going down with them. So at what point did they do injustice? Let me understand. You are calling it injustice. What is injustice? He was given a right to represent himself. He was given a right to counsel. He was given, I was even shocked that Justice Omotosho gave his people right for allocutus. I called one or two of my friends. I was following up yesterday, but I was too busy. So once I would just call Victor. Alpha, I've definitely delivered the judgment. Okay. What about allocutus? This one, he doesn't have a lawyer. Who will do allocutus for him? Allocutus means plea for mercy. I was so happy when Justice Omotosho gave them the microphone and said, since you're a legal consultant and you have been coming to court for him, please, I will not shut him out from allocutus. Say he's allocutus or say something about allocutus. That is plea for mercy. And this Mr. Obi, he used to be my friend. Mr. Obi, took the microphone and started talking. I listened to his speech. I listened to his legal counsel's speech. He was given he was given all the rights for fair hearing, up to allocutus. The judge was mindful enough to reduce it to just life imprisonment. At least life imprisonment. At least being alive and serving a life imprisonment, there is hope that one day something will happen. But what about death sentence? He did not even pronounce the maximum that was required by law. He gave him life, which is fair. But you people don't understand. That's why you are emotional. What if it was death sentence? What you are going to talk? The death sentence they give him before Friday they don't buy him. What you are going to talk?
Well, I'm not going to say much to this lady as regards to the things she said, but I would just have this to say to every one of you there who are applauding Justice Omotosho and insisting that he did a good job with the judgment of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the conviction. We need to step back and ask some honest questions. Is it suddenly a crime to seek a self-determination? Is it now illegal in Nigeria for people to demand a referendum, even though it is not written or documented in any form? Is it illegal to express the desire for a separate nation? Because if we all truly respect the law, then we must admit that self-determination is not a crime under any Nigerian statute. Let's remove sentiments. Let's remove hate. Let's remove some kind of ill-human behavior towards this very judgment. Let's be plain. It is a constitutional and international right to agitate, to seek for freedom, to seek for a separate nation, whichever way you see it. If you were affected directly or indirectly, I can understand as humans, you have feelings, you have emotion, you have to pour it out, you have to express it. It is normal. But you don't stake Nigerian law into it. No democratic society punishes a man for merely expressing a political aspirations. It is also not compulsory for everyone to agree with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's method or rhetoric. Even within liberation movements, there will always be disagreements. During Mandela, even King Saro-Wiwa faced internal criticism from their own people. That is normal. But disagreement does not erase the legitimacy of the cause. When a people feel marginalized or unheard, they will naturally seek a path to freedom. And anyone who champions such a cause must be ready to sacrifice both physically, mentally, and socially. So in that regard, nobody can deny that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has carried his own cross. It is not so. Yes, some may say that he made mistakes. Yes, of course, there are mistakes that I heard also actually took that wasn't necessary. There are thoughts or there are things he said or did that many believe he should not have done. But mistakes are not crimes, and they are definitely not grounds for injustice. What matters is the law. Nigeria is not a monarchy. No one rules by decree. If you claim to operate under law and order, then the law must be very clear, valid, and applicable to everybody. You said you are a lawyer. This particular lady says she's a lawyer, but she didn't talk about the repealed law that Nnamdi Kanu has been yarning about. You said Nnamdi Kanu deserves this. You said the judgment is tight and all of that. The painful truth is that nobody should be judged based on a law that does not exist. And I believe that this lady here, probably she's not even in Nigeria. She's actually coexisting in where laws are really mandated on everybody. So it's not even surprising. And also, this is why so many Nigerians, lawyers, activists, and observers believe something is fundamentally wrong with the entire process in Nigeria. The entire system is so bad. You cannot stretch the law to fit an accusation. You cannot create offenses where none exist. And you cannot criminalize political opinion simply because it threatens the comfort of the ruling elite. If the government truly wants justice, then let justice be consistent. Let justice be transparent. Let justice follow due process. From his abduction in Kenya to detention in DSS custody, Nigeria's judicial credibility already is at stake. And every politically influenced ruling sends a message that courts are no longer arbiters of justice, but tools of politics. So instead of praising the judgment blandly, ask the right questions. As a lawyer, why is a man being tried under charges that even seasoned lawyers describe as vague, as repute,
as non-existent? Why has the government refused to obey earlier court rulings ordering his release? Why is the self-determination treated like prison? Why? Why is the law being bent instead of being followed? Because law is a statute. Because law is statutory. There's nothing, there's no emotion in it. There's no bias, no sentiment. Why is the due process suddenly optional? So those who clap for injustice today, forget that injustice does not stop with one person. Once the law becomes flexible in the hands of politicians, nobody is safe anymore. Not you, not your tribe, not your children. This is not about loving or hating Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, what he does, or his opinion, his whatever. It is about defending a principle that freedom of expression, self-determination, and fair trial are all rights, not favors. Nigeria either respect the law or it openly admit that the law no longer rules the country. Until then, the conversation continues. As always, this is about perspectives, your domain for unfiltered news and raw political analysis.
If you found this video insightful, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and turn on the notification so you would always get notified each time we drop a new update. And of course, leave your comments. Let's know what you think.
Thank you for watching.